Okay, hi semuanya. Hi everyone. Thank you for coming to Makassar International Writers Festival 2022. I know in Jakarta it's 9 o'clock in the morning. It's Saturday, and we invite you to listen to a literary talk. But I think if you know that this special event is kind of like one of the highlight of the festival, I think this is a good reason for you, especially for those who already familiar with Korean literature, and just for the information that we have, this is for the first time the festival actually invite an author from South Korea. So I would like to welcome everyone and also welcome our guest, Bora Chung. Welcome to the festival.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yes. To start with, just would like you to introduce yourself and telling us where you're speaking from. I'm speaking from Makassar. It's a very nice morning today. I saw a little bird outside of my window. It's 10 o'clock a.m. So where are you speaking from?
Hello, my name is Bora Chung. I am speaking from Pohang, South Korea. Pohang is about 2.5 hours south from Seoul, but South Korea is such a tiny little country. We are in the same time zone. It is 11:07 in the morning.
All right. I hope it's going to be one of the memorable weekend for you. Speaking and share your stories and your creative journey with us in Indonesia, especially in Makassar. And I would like to say hello to all the participants already joining us. Today, we are going to explore an exciting book from South Korea that recently has made a big fuss, made in news as well around international readers. The title is Cursed Bunny. It's just there. Bora saw us to, you see the books. I also have my book with me. See? Now, the book was originally published in 2017. Am I right? Yes, that's the original version in South Korea. Of course, in South Korean language, This book has 10 horror, bizarre yet fresh stories. So 10 stories. But apart from the story collection, of course, Bora is a prolific author, already published 4 novels, if I'm not mistaken. But let's focus our talk today to this theme, like we want to talk about revenge, loneliness, surrealism, speculative stories, and all that kind of interesting stories that you compile in this book. And Cursed Bunny was translated into English in 2021. And this is the news. Shortlisted for the 2022 International Booker Prize. So congratulations, Bora. So wow. Bora is a writer, a translator of modern literature of Russian and Polish into Korean. Also a lecturer, No? You're not a lecturer?
I quit last year.
Oh my goodness, you quit. That's another interesting story to share, actually, why you quit university or academic field. But let's put it for later. So Bora has published 3 novels and 3 books of short story collections in Korean, including Cursed Bunny. Now, you already shared that you are speaking from Pohang. And I've been to Korea once. It's been many years ago, but because I'm watching Korean drama, so Pohang is quite familiar with. Not like Pohang, Jeju, and all that places around the South Korea. So first, on behalf of the festival and of course on behalf of everyone here, I would like to congratulate you for the Cursed Bunny and sharing the shortlist of the International Booker's Prize 2022. So congratulations. If you look at the icon, the reaction, I'm gonna put my claps for you. Congratulations. How do you feel about that? I mean, like, I learned that you just attended an event, did some readings, meeting people, talk about your books and so forth. So how was it?
It was quite fantastic and very surprising. I still feel like it was a very nice dream. And 3 different people came to me and told me that they read stories from Cursed Bunny to their children. Please don't. It's bad for children. And they seemed really happy that their children were terrified. So yeah, I'm really sorry. I'm ruining the next generation.
This is a really hilarious statement I've ever heard. Now, I hope the families out there, the mothers, the fathers, they don't buy this book for Easter as well, yeah? Because you have Bunny there. Now, yeah, so how actually you try to, try to understand, to try to digest, yeah, to process all these comments and, your encounters with your readers and peoples, because it's such a big news that it's been shortlisted.
Yeah, well, I try to see it as a kind of work that I needed to do. They were quite specific, the Booker Foundation. They sent me the schedule for the May 22nd event and May 26th event when they announced the winner. And they sent me schedules. They sent me and my translator, Mr. Anton Her, what to do in case we win, what's going to happen to the winner for the 27th of May, and where we have to go for the 29th, etc. So I try to focus on the work that I needed to do and not get too excited because I needed to keep my head on, I couldn't just lose my mind over the news.
I think that's the kind of experience like when you readers, like myself this morning after reading one of your story, feeling like, oh, this is so, surreal, but I kind of believe this is happening. I think I kind of think that moment, right? Like, am I dreaming? But this is real. Yeah. So once again, congratulations. Now, tell us about this book in particular. Yeah. So what is actually the creative process behind the Cursed Bunny itself? Because I understand that the original version in the Korean language was published in 2017. What was actually the receptions back then, if you remember or share with us?
The readers didn't respond at all.
Okay, back then. But the different story happened when the English translations coming up. Is that right?
Yes. For some reason, overseas readers, the English-speaking world responded enthusiastically. And before all the Booker nomination and all the craziness began, last year, right after the book the English translation came out, my publisher started to tell me that the word of mouth was really propelling the sales. So it's a small company. Huntford Star is a very small company, and they told me that they couldn't really spend a lot of money on marketing, but the book was selling just by word of mouth.
Wow. So there's no, you don't need, you don't need an extra effort to market the book after the news broke.
Well, I hope they are doing some marketing. But it was really surprising, and I was very, very grateful.
Yeah, because so let me try to put this in a bit simple journey. So when the original version was published in 2017, you saw a little, just a not zero, but a little response maybe. But when the English translations are available and the English readers really, kind of like love it, put a lot of good reviews on it, and then this book goes back to Korea, to South Korea, and finding the new readers in South Korea. So, and I think it's quite similar with other non-English translated work. Yeah, once it has the international recognitions, the origin country will definitely given attention. I heard one of like not heard. I've read a news actually when I tried to Google your name, and there's a newspaper in India actually publish your profile with a very interesting paragraph there saying that, well, Bora Chung actually is not someone that quite popular in the mainstream South Korean literature circle. What is your take on that?
I'm not popular at all. They're correct. I'm not popular.
But you're not gonna say that for today or after the Booker Prize.
Well, I am shocked still, and I am extremely grateful for choosing me, putting me on the short list. But I don't think this is gonna last. Next year, I'm gonna be unpopular again.
This is a very interesting statement, Bora. So this year you're popular, but maybe next year gonna be unpopular again. Oh no, I think you have readers and you have people out there who love your works and relate with your, the message that you try to convey through your two works. So let's go back to the book, yeah, Curse Bunny. So please share to us, like, when was actually you started to think about to have these short stories collections, and why?
Well, I wrote a whole lot of short stories. There was a time period when I wrote one short story a month. So I have like 140, 150 of them. And my publisher chose 10 among those 100-something short stories. So this is a collection from a very wide range of time period from my life. The oldest story is from 1998, and the most recent one
Recording in progress.
The most recent story in this book is from 2016. So a span of 18 years, almost 20 years. So I can't really say there is one single creative process or one single idea that gave birth to Curse Bunny, the book. It's from many different situations over some period of time in my life. But mostly I was angry. I mostly write when I'm angry. And these are angry stories from a very angry Asian woman.
A very angry Asian woman who believes that short story is the best platform or medium to channel your anger. But I think here, I'm just trying to share my experience as your new reader. Again here, I really like the idea that you try to comment on social, political, economic, and of course traditions that's happening around you, and you choose these like speculative fictions, things that make people really try to think before they perhaps understand what you want to say. But I think one of the story that I really like here, I think the cursed bunny story here. I found a really interesting line, which make me feel like, wow, this is so relatable with my observation, with my own society. Yeah. So let me read this. Grandfather's friend care only about developing delicious, healthy spirits. He had no idea that in the new post-war age, connections with government higher ups, networking, entertaining, and the occasional bribe and backdoor dealing were more important than product quality or technology. That's South Korea in from your perspective, right? Yeah. But of course, the way you're telling the story and craft all these narratives is through this little bunny. Now, tell us more about this idea. Where do you get this idea from? Because I do believe that in Asian society, whoever with Asian backgrounds or familiar with the Asian values would find some familiar ideas about not only the contemporary situations in each Asian countries, but also the objects itself. In Bahasa Indonesia, we call it keramat. Keramat means that's an object filled with spirit or has an object with special power. And you can use that object to do a revenge, channel your anger towards something or towards someone. Yeah. So what's the idea come from?
The bunny and the idea of revenge came from two different time periods and two different occasions. The bunny actually is my invention. There is no cursed bunny or cursed bunny object per se in the Korean tradition. I am affiliated with a writers group, and back in 2016, I think the end of 2015, the beginning of 2016, we were discussing about what to write for the new year. And somebody said, let's do the Asian zodiac, the 12 animals. And so as soon as somebody said Asian zodiac, everybody wanted the dragon. And then the lucky one got the dragon, I forget who, but then the tiger, the horse, all the glamorous animals were sold. And then the familiar animals, dogs, roosters, rats, those kind of animals. So they were all sold. And then when I poked in, there were only two left, either the bunny or the sheep. I know nothing about sheep. So I couldn't make a story out of something that I didn't know anything about. So I had to choose the bunny. That was the only choice I had. And I didn't really know what to write. So I decided to make the bunny scary, because in real life, bunnies are cute and fuzzy, and they are the weakest animal, one of the weakest animals in the food chain. They don't have claws. They don't have sharp teeth. They have nothing offensive. They can only run away to defend themselves. So I decided to make the bunny scary, to go the opposite way, because otherwise, if I stuck to the real bunny, then I wouldn't have an interesting story. So I decided to write about a scary bunny, and then I was thinking about this company of a very small family-run company that made dumplings, and there was this big scandal about garbage dumplings. around 2001 to 2003, I think, in Korea. Back then I was in the United States, so I didn't really know the details. But later I found out that just like in the book, a big corporation wanted the market share, and they ran a smear campaign, and they crushed that small company that was making good dumplings. They paid the media, the news outlets, to say that this company was producing garbage dumplings, that they were putting garbage inside the dumplings. You know, dumplings are covered, so you can't really see the ingredients. And the big corporation and all the news media were saying that this company did something wrong, but in reality, the company didn't do anything wrong. It's just the big corporation wanted the market, but the owner took his own life as a result. And the company went bankrupt and the family was destroyed. I read the owner's son's interview some 10 years later, and they were still destitute. They were still not recovering from the father's death and the bankruptcy of the company. And the family was just destroyed because this big corporation was greedy. And I was so heartbroken for them. There was nothing I could do. And no media outlet, no company was taking responsibility for that, for ruining three people's lives. You know, the owner, the mother, the son. Nobody was doing anything. So I wanted them to die. I wanted the evil people to die. That's why I wrote the story. But that scandal, the garbage dumpling scandal, was so very well known in Korea. It just swept all of Korea and everybody knew about it. So I couldn't write dumpling, you know? If I wrote about dumplings, then I would be harming the family all over again. I would be tormenting the already ruined family all over again. So I tried to find something similar in history. And I know for a fact that in the 1960s and 70s, when Korea was under military dictatorship, the military dictator actually introduced this kind of very strict policy that we should be able to produce enough rice for ourselves. And we shouldn't Korea all of a sudden. So it really happened in Korea that 400, 500-year breweries that made liquor out of rice for, I don't know, centuries, they were closed down. They were suddenly illegal. That actually happened. But it was only liquor. It was not about rice products in general or alcohol products in general. And that ban didn't last too long, but that actually happened. So I thought maybe I should take advantage of that, the historical fact, because it's been 50, 60 years since that happened. So I used that, and I was still angry about the big corporation that ruined somebody's life. So like, die, everybody, the evil people die. That's how I wrote it.
So it seems like there is a call from yourself to respond to these injustice situations. So, and I think again, it's a common practice if we look at how actually the business as usual is conducted everywhere. So that's, but in recent years, thank God that we also seen that these initiatives called ethical business, where people now become more conscious about fair trade, equality, and access. Although if we are facing the reality that if you're dealing with a big corporations or big brand, big company, there's something normally or usually there's something behind it. Okay, interesting. So you're really angry back then. I imagine, because you said that you wrote more than 100 short stories, and you write every time you feel angry. So wow, I try to imagine that your how do you channel and how do you actually try to stay sane with all the situation that keep make you thinking about this injustice society.
Like all human beings, I can't really stay angry forever all the time. So sometimes something interesting happens in life, and I want to write about that. It doesn't have to make me angry. Sometimes something just unusual happens, or something that doesn't fit together. Once I saw it's a very random example, but once I saw a Catholic nun riding a dump truck, what do you call it? A big industrial truck that was carrying sand for construction. And you don't normally see a Catholic nun riding a truck, and there's nothing wrong with it, or there's nothing that made me angry about it. It's just, it was very unusual. So those kind of moments, or if anything happens to people, anything good or bad or unusual happens to people I like, people I love in my life, then I observe the situation and I try to make stories out of it. But because all of my stories come from my own life, I try to be very careful, and I try to make things as unreal as possible, because these stories somehow come from different moments of my life, and I don't want to reveal too much about my life or other people's lives for that matter.
Yes. I remember one of the writer in Indonesia actually get the idea about writing stories based on the family and people she loved. And there was a moment that the character reading it and asking, is this about me? Because it's realist. It's different from your story, because your genre is a speculative fiction genre with horror. With horror nuance. This is the thing that we're going to discuss next. So this is a very interesting genre. How do you pick that theme and genre? You mentioned a bit about I need to make it as surreal as possible, so people don't need to relate or playing a detective to try to investigate. Oh, Bora Chung writes about this person or this family or this chebol. All right. So about the genre.
I like horror. I always liked horror, and Asian stories, Asian legends, Asian myth, Asian fairy tales are full of horrible elements. And I like ghost stories. I really love ghost stories. So even as a child, I really loved ghost stories. And I think it's partly because of my grandmother. We lived with my mother's mother, and she practically raised me. And she was a big fan of horror and mystery and thrillers and stuff. So we used to watch television together and watch all the ghost movies. So I like ghost stories. And it was very natural for me to start writing about ghosts or supernatural, horrible phenomena when I started writing.
So you grown up watching horror and ghost movies, yeah. And is there a favorite writer that influenced your work, or I don't know, I mean, like from your reading list, or maybe someone that really impacting your work, beside your grandma who looking after you, and then watching the ghost movies together?
I the writers that I know influenced me, that I consciously try to emulate, are all Russian.
Yeah.
Because I studied Russian literature.
Yeah.
So there is one author called Andrei Platonov.
Mhm.
He lived during the Russian Communist Revolution, and he believed in the revolution, then he witnessed how Soviet Union turned into a dictatorship under Stalin. So he despaired, and he wrote about his hopes and despair, and it all happened in one person's lifetime, and it's quite beautiful. And I imagine it was immensely heartbreaking during his own lifetime for his contemporaries who lived during the time. But for me, from a safe distance, when I read it, it's a beautiful, subtle, delicate, philosophical writing about human life, and this great expectations about a better future, and despair over what is really happening in reality, and this feeling of loss and pain and suffering. And I just love the way he describes a lot of things. But that's one author that I know influenced me, but other authors probably influenced me and I didn't even realize.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, your background is Russian literature, so yeah, it's no surprise that you really like look up into the Russian author. I love Anton Chekhov. I love short stories. I feel that short story is more powerful than novel. But you write both, yeah, novels and short stories. So
I'm
what
better
what
at
is
short
the yeah?
stories.
What is your take on that? I mean, like you also write novels and you also write short stories, but
Novels scare me.
why?
Novels scare me because they're big and they're long and I don't know what to do. I like short stories. And I do like Anton Chekhov.
Yeah.
He once wrote that more words do not make a better story. And I totally agree with him.
Yeah.
He never wrote any novels during his
Yes.
lifetime. The longest he wrote was a novella.
Yeah.
And he's still a master writer.
Yeah.
So I have Anton Chekhov with me. I don't have to be a novelist. I don't have to write like 1,000, 2,000 pages to be a good writer.
Yeah.
And I deal with short stories much better.
Yeah. We go back to the translations journey. Yeah. So the encounters with international readers, and soon in Indonesia, Curse Bunny will be published. In the Indonesian edition will be published in October. The publisher is here, and
Yay!
I need to acknowledge that this happened was made possible because of our partners from Haru in Jakarta. Leah, David, and Andri, they're all here. They're fantastic. Independent publisher, family owned, but run by young people. We really love the energy, and apart from the publications, they also organize Asian book festivals. Yeah, it's an online festival. It's fascinating. Now, talking about the translations, so how actually the process behind the English translations, and what is the Curse Bunny journey to be translated into different or other foreign languages after the English? If you have any news to share for us.
Well, actually the translations into other languages beyond English started happening last year. Last November, December, people started asking about Spanish rights or Japanese rights, Chinese rights, and I was quite amazed. So the English translation opened the door for all those other languages, including Indonesian. Yay! And well, I met Mr. He, my translator, by chance. I was at a book festival. I was at the Korean publisher's booth at the book festival. I was selling books there. And Anton just came to the booth and started flipping through the books. So I was trying to sell books. So I told him, well, that writer is good at this, and she writes this kind of stories, and that book is about this, and that writer, he's great, he's a scientist, and he writes about this, blah, blah, blah. And he picked up my book, and I didn't know what to say. So I didn't say anything. And he later told me that that is why he started reading the book, because I didn't say anything. I didn't do it strategically. I just didn't know what to say. And he started reading the book standing there at the booth right then and there.
When was that?
That was 2018. So 1 year after the book came out. And he was holding my book like this, and he said, who's the author, and is the author at the festival right now? And I said, I'm the author. And he said, he asked me if he could translate it. And he was speaking in normal, clear Korean. And I didn't really understand what he was saying. I didn't imagine anybody would want to translate my book. It wasn't selling very well, and I'm not popular, as I told you. So I didn't understand what he was trying to say. And I said, yes, I translate too. And he was like, no, I want to translate this book. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the author, I translate too. And there was this very weird conversation going on. Yeah. But during the translation itself, Anton didn't really ask me anything. We didn't converse too much. Anton just finished the translation, and one day the publisher sent me the book, and that was it. Like, here's your book. That was it.
What was it, like a year or less than a year?
Yeah. Well, Anton finished the translation, he said, in 7 months or 6 months. And then it took him longer to find a publisher. But yeah, so the whole thing from 2018 to 2021 took about 3 years.
And you're happy with the translation, of course, because Anton is one of the best translators in the world from Korean to English. And the translation project from the Korean language into English was the winner of PEN Ham Grant, yeah? So besides shortlisted for the 2022 International Booker Prize, it's also the winner of a PEN and Ham Grant. Now, this is interesting, yeah? Like, it's a called destiny, maybe, yeah? But one thing I learned this morning, that you are so humble.
Oh, thank you.
A bit naive. you don't know how to pitch your word. Instead of, I'm trying to imagine that. How do you see yourself back then in 2018 at the book festival? You were standing and helping the publisher to sell books. And you were promoting other authors, but the translator picked your book and asking who's the author. this is such a dramatic scene, yet beautiful, of course, and that's the destiny. Now, let's discuss another story. Yeah, the opening stories. Yeah, the head. After reading that stories, for our participants, ya, nanti allow me to speak in bahasa first ya. Nanti ada edisi bahasa Indonesianya, diterbitkan bulan Oktober, tapi edisi bahasa Inggrisnya sudah bisa didapatkan di beberapa toko ya atau online shop juga. Saya menikmati sekali. Ceritanya horor banget ya. So the story is about a head that keeping, popping up from a toilet. Oh, how did you get to this idea to tell a story about a woman and a head, and this head in the process to develop or to grow as a complete body? And then there is a very intense conversation between the old and young body. One is growing, one is finished and fine. So where did you get this idea from?
Well, I like bathrooms. I like clean bathrooms. So I always wanted to write a story about a bathroom.
Okay.
That was one thing. And things are supposed to go inside the toilet. So if anything came outside the toilet, there's a problem. We all know the problem. We don't want to talk about it. So that was the inspiration. And I was 22 when I wrote the story, and I was quite intensely thinking about what it meant to become a mother. And I didn't believe that becoming a mother would suddenly make you happy all the time for the rest of your life. It's not like that. Well, I don't have children, so I can't really say from my own experience, but everybody knows that giving birth and raising a child is hard labor. It's really hard labor. Raising a family, maintaining a household, it's all very hard labor. And as a young woman, I started to realize that what the society is trying to indoctrinate us with, this fantasy that if you get married and have children, you're going to live happily ever after. It's just a fantasy, and it's not reality. And when it comes to everyday work that you have to put in to keep your house livable and keep your children alive, it's just insane amount of effort. So that's what I was thinking when I wrote The Head. And also I wanted to write about women who are not heard. So during this period when I was in my 20s, I wrote a lot of stories about women who are in very strange situations and who are ignored the whole time. So the protagonist is going through very strange occurrences, and she tries to tell people, but nobody pays attention. Just like in The Head, everybody's like, well, it doesn't lay eggs, it doesn't bite, so just leave it alone, even though there's a head coming out of the bathroom.
Now I would like to insert one word into your descriptions about yourself that you mentioned earlier. I am an angry Asian woman. You said that before. I think you are an angry feminist, Asian feminist, an angry Asian feminist, and motherhood, and then a decision to become become a mother is, of course, it's not only problematic, but there's so many complexity within the motherhood itself, like whether it's going to free you or whether it's gonna be put you in a quote unquote jail, whether it brings you happiness, whether you feel that that's actually something that you're dreaming of and so forth. Yeah. But I also find a clue of environmental messages here. I don't know if you agree with me, but as a reader, I really like the idea that something that you try to throw away to flush in, and then it's all things that you don't want to see because you really need to keep your bathroom, the toilet, your house cleaned. But there is a sentence from the head. Allow me to find it if I can find it. That this is the part from the page 18 on the English version. So the head gazed at her with an expression of longing on her young face and say, "I've never received anything from you besides what you've thrown away. This is my first and last request." So never received anything from you besides things that you throw away. I think it's a very strong Green Party's statement. You can talk about circular economy there, you can talk recycling, you can talk about how we should actually think about waste management in a more in a more responsible ways as a human being, like we exploit the world, we exploit the planet, and then we just want to enjoy things, but we don't want to think about the residue, the waste, and of course the things that we fasten in the toilet. Now with this comment that a reader like myself actually got quite a environmentalist message. Is it in you as well? Like you think about environment, or it's just because you try to look the activities in the bathroom, and how a person use the toilet, and you try to develop this kind of like cycle.
When I was writing the story, I wasn't exactly environmentally aware, but I did imagine, I did seriously imagine what happens after we throw away things in the toilet. And well, all women, I think, know when they go to the bathroom, there's one form or another, some kind of announcement that says, do not throw away tampons in the toilet. Do not throw away this and that in the toilet. Do not throw away wet wipes, sorry, in the toilet. Those kind of things.
Yeah.
It's like globally, I think universal. All women have seen at one point in their lives. So what, and what happens when you throw away those things in the toilet, bad things happen. So I think women are consciously or unconsciously more aware of what to throw away in the toilet or what not to than men, because our anatomy and what we use are related to it. So I was thinking about those things, but I wasn't exactly, not environmentally aware at all.
Yeah, but that's the beautiful thing about fictions. Yeah, I mean, like Yoki message about mother, the roles of a mother, and then trying to challenge the concept of motherhood based on a perspective. But readers could actually have an extra reading from the sentence, as just like I shared my experience reading these short stories. But I really love the idea. I mean, like, it's mind blowing that there's an author that really keep thinking about this clean bathroom and then the toilet, and there's a head. And I think from now on, after reading this story, I always play with my own imagination every time I go to the toilets.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I
That's
apologize to
okay.
everybody.
It's a compliment. It's a compliment because it makes us more reflective. Because sometimes we don't want to think about objects or things that we throw away. In fact, it doesn't mean that the problems been resolved if the waste is we throw the trash away. Yeah, because there's a next step for the trash, the next journey for the trash, and it ended up as ocean pollutions and so forth and so forth. All right. So total 10 short stories in Curse Bunny have theme compatibility, revenge. And also, I read another article that you mentioned about loneliness, although it's all setting in a horror tones, but one of the key messages here is about loneliness especially for modern society. So tell us more about this. And perhaps you could share, if you could present like 5 keywords for you new readers, because this morning we have 38 participants joining us and listening to these conversations, and a group of young people and volunteers in Makassar also listening from our gallery. They are your potential new readers, yeah. So I think it's very important to also listen to this key messages from the author about what actually the key messages that you try to convey. Although you said before that, I had 100 stories, and the publisher who actually put all this together, selected, curated, and then say, hello, this is your book. But of course, as a book with 10 stories collected together, there's a kind of key messages or a thread there. What is your take on that?
My Korean publisher planned this book this way, so it was their product, not my intention. I never really thought about writing 10 stories about revenge coherently. These just came from different situations from my life, and the publisher chose these stories and put the stories in this particular order. And the Korean original and the English version have different order. Okay. So in the Korean original, the Cursed Bunny, the title story is the first story. In the English version, I think in the English version, the head is the first story. So it's a little bit different. So it's their project, their planning, not mine. And it has to do with marketing. Yeah. Oh, everything has to do with marketing. So yeah. But about loneliness, I think it has to do with horror, because when you see a ghost with a friend, it's less scary. But when you see a ghost all by yourself, it's just really scary. So the element of horror in the horror genre comes from fear of death. And that fear is intrinsically very lonely. We fear death because we don't know what's going to happen next. And we are all alone in that experience. And so the horror intensifies when you're alone. And the stories in the book are more about social horror, like the woman who is not heard, the woman who is going through strange experiences and nobody pays attention to her. So she's alone in that experience, even though she's living with her family or living with her husband or something like that. Nobody listens to her. And her horror, her fear, her dread is only hers, and she has to deal with everything. So that's the kind of loneliness I was thinking about. And also, as for Cursed Bunny, I think even when the revenge is done, even when the revenge is over and the evil people are all dead, I think the victims would still think, I think this is my feeling too. I want this to not have happened. You know, I would have preferred if this whole thing didn't happen. And I would have really preferred if that family didn't lose their business and that family didn't lose their father. You know, I want things to go back to the point where everything was just normal, and I want this to not happen at all. I think there's that kind of regret. I'm really sorry that this whole thing happened. Even though you got your revenge, I still wish you didn't have to go through anything. So there's that kind of sadness in it. And I think whoever is suffering any kind of injustice, social or otherwise, are very lonely. And I wanted to tell them that somehow I kind of understand. Or if they want to tell their story, then I'm ready to listen.
Well, thank you. So I would like to praise the translations. Anton Hur did justice to this short stories collections. The translation is really excellent. I mean, like the nuance, the South Korean society. Now, talking about these 10 stories, yeah, in the Cursed Bunny collections, what is your, or which one is your favorite?
I will have to say Goodbye, My Love, because I was still teaching at university back then, and the story came to mind while I was discussing artificial intelligence and machines having awareness, those kind of things in my science fiction class. So so essentially my students taught me how to write science fiction, and that's why I like this story.
All right. Okay. Now we're going to have a reading session at the end of this session, but we also gonna open a Q&A for our participants here. But before that, I would like to ask you about the course when it will be translated to Indonesian language or Bahasa Indonesia, and will be published at the end of, I think it's on October or November this year. So coming soon, yeah, by Haru Publisher. What is your hope to Indonesian readers? Or any like, because you mentioned before that now you're in the process about to process the rights to translate. Last year already processed the rights for other foreign languages, Chinese, Spanish, and so forth. And this year we're anticipating the Indonesian edition.
I hope the readers find the stories fun. Very fun. You don't have to think about any deep messages. If you find it fun, then I have fulfilled my goal.
As long as you find you feel you can feel fun and feel happy.
not happy.
Not happy, fun. Fun, yeah. It's not happy. It's not there's no happiness. It's bitter, but I think I like your perspectives in trying to that's maybe this is why the international readers love the editions, because it takes us to a Korean family, South Korean family problems. Without, you don't need to mention any name and things that become so detailed in any Korean movie or any Korean TV drama, for examples. But you just try to present the main problem of a Korean society using horror, which I find is a really fascinating reading experience for me. Okay, now in this room we have Dias Putri, who is the Cursed Bunny Indonesian translator. One question for Dias, I would like to ask you about the translation experience so far.
Yeah. Oh, hello everyone. I'm there.
Yeah,
the Indonesian.
Can we have Dias, please?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. Oh, hello everyone. I'm Des Putri, the translator of Cursed Bunny to Indonesian. First, I want to say thank you for inviting me to this online event, and I want to say hello to especially to Miss Chung. Yes, and I really want to say that this is a big honor for me to get the opportunity to translate this amazing book. Like, honestly, this kind of genre wasn't my cup of tea, but this book is a game changer for me. Like, honestly, this kind of genre, like, it has totally changed my perspective. Like, I fell in love with this book while doing the translation of Cursed Bunny. Like, I realized that Miss Jung has explained the characters, background, plot, and even the details perfectly. Like, I can totally get the image of what she wants to convey to the readers, and I'm trying my best to translate it to Indonesian language so that the readers will be able to portray the details that Miss Jung wants to deliver. And well, furthermore, like while doing the translation, sometimes I would feel really surprised by all the plot twists that the stories have in the end. And it makes me want to keep reading the book to see what happens in the end. Well, sometimes I just focus on reading the story until I forget to do my job. Like, I don't translate, I read. Like, I keep turning on the pages without realizing it. Like, well, I even recommend this book to my friends, even when the translation book hasn't been published in Indonesia yet. I told them to prepare. Like, okay, so like, well, I hope like everyone, like the readers later, can also anticipate and like this book as much as I do. And yeah, please do take note, guys, that this book will be published maybe between September or October. Yeah, if I remember it correctly, by Penerbit Haru. So I hope that you guys can enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you, Dias. It's such a wonderful Saturday morning. Yeah, we have a really interesting conversation about Cursed Bunny. For those who haven't read the book, if you're waiting for the Indonesian editions, you have to wait until September, October. But I really recommend you to read this book. I mean, like if you're an angry Asian feminist like myself or like Bora, I mean, everything from these 10 stories, it talks you about the injustice in a business world, and then a lot of social pressures for women living in an Asian context. And now, of course, there's so many things that you want to comment on or ask. So I decided to open the Q&A for our friends here while I'm reading the chat. Oh, we have Ika. Hello, Ika. Ika Natasha from Medan. Ika is a author.
Hi, Kalili.
How are you? Can we pin Ika and you can ask your question? I've read your question here, but I think it's really interesting to invite you to comment or ask your questions.
Yeah,
to Bora
I'm
directly.
like following the session while also working on a Saturday. So, but I found the conversation is very interesting. Honestly, hi Bora, I'm Ika from Indonesia. I'm also a writer. I think one of my biggest weakness as a writer is I cannot seem to write short stories. For me, it's a lot more difficult than writing a novel, to be honest, because when you write short stories, you have to fit in all your messages and ideas and your imagination in limited number of pages. While in novels, you can go on and then stretch the plot and do things like that. But from the conversation that you have with Kak Lily so far in this session, I haven't read your book, by the way, but now it got me interested, and I wish there's a bookstore in Medan that I could run to right now just to grab the book and read it in this lovely Saturday morning. And my question was, it seems like you play with it seems like, oh, my video. Sorry if I don't look decent. I'm in my bedroom.
It's weekend, Ika.
It's weekend. It's my
Saturday
weekend gear. So I'm
Relax.
still in my PJs. So, so my question is, it seems like you play a lot with imagination in this collection of such stories. I mean, you use symbolism. You dive into subjects that personally, as a writer, I haven't been able to find the courage to dive into those. And I'm just wondering, I'm always, when I'm talking to people, I'm always very interested in how their thought process are going on inside their head when they are creating something. And I thought that this morning, while we have the opportunity to talk to you directly, I'm curious, like how you play around with whatever demons or angels that you've got inside your head that then was born into these wonderful stories. Thank you, Bora, and welcome to Indonesia, by the way.
Oh, thank you. First of all, about short stories and novels, I actually read literary theory when I was still teaching at university. So there is a theory that short stories and novels are actually two different genres. So you don't have to be good at both. It's normal to be good at one genre because these are totally different genres and they come from different origins. So these are all Russian theorists saying, Russian formalists. So according to those Russian formalists, novels come from travel logs. So traveling to different places and seeing new kinds of scenery, encountering new kind of people, but the journey can go on and on and on without necessarily having any kind of message in the middle, you know. But short story comes from fairy tales, and fairy tales have to be, so fairy tales were traditionally memorized, remembered, and transmitted by mouth. So fairy tales have to be short. It has to be able to fit in a person's memory. That's why they are short. They have a concrete ending, and that's why they come from a very different background than the long form, the novel. So these are two different genres coming from two different backgrounds, and you don't have to settle with both. You can just go on with one, I think. And what was the other question? So when I always liked the fantastic, and I find reality boring.
Reality is really boring.
Yeah, reality is boring. So
It's boring and frustrating, actually.
yeah, boring, frustrating, and makes me angry sometimes. So I want things to be different. I want things to be more interesting, and fantastic stories are always more interesting, almost always. So when I write, I wrote that in the chat window. When I write, I intentionally try to make the story unrealistic, as far removed from reality. In a very simple way, like if I start a story by saying he was hungry, then the next sentence would be, but he did not eat, but he did not go to eat. And then you have a story. You have to explain why this person is hungry but not eating. Maybe he's refusing to eat, or maybe he doesn't have time to eat, or maybe he's in a situation, maybe he's abducted by aliens and the aliens are not letting him eat. Maybe he's abducted by crazy scientists and they're doing some kind of experiment on him. There could be a million different stories from those two sentences. He's hungry, but he's not eating, So if I said he's hungry, so he ate, then that's it. Like that's the end of it. So that's how I try to make a story, by going the other way, the illogical way, the unrealistic way. Things get more interesting.
All right. I hope Bora has answered your questions. Ika?
Yes, she does.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I mean, like try to take a different directions when you get all these materials from reality, but the way you're going to convey these stories is going to opposite directions. Thanks, Ika. And we have another question from Makassar, from Alif Putra. Hai Alif, bisa dinyalakan kameranya dan bisa bertanya langsung kepada Bora dalam bahasa Indonesia juga nggak apa-apa. Silakan. Alif Putra. We have question from Makassar. Your camera is still off. Kameranya masih belum dinyalakan.
Hello. Hi.
Sorry, I cannot turn on my camera.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Silakan.
Please, translator in. I will asking in bahasa. Please translate to English. Bora, pernahkah menemui kesulitan saat menulis ini, dan kesulitan apa itu? Selain itu, bagaimana cara Bora mengatasi kesulitan tersebut?
Baik, terima kasih. So the question from Alif Aputra in Makassar is, have you ever faced any, challenge or difficulties when you write, and how you address or try to, what did you do to, what is your solution when you have difficulties or challenge during your creative process?
I have difficulties all the time. And when I have to identify the problem. If it's something that, if I'm writing science fiction, for example, and I don't know about a certain theory or about a certain device, then I can go study. I can go find out more information. If I just have a block and can't really find the next story, then I start imagining ghosts. I start writing about ghosts. And ghost stories always save me.
So that's if you have if you see a wall there, you just change directions. As simple as that.
Put in a random ghost.
Ghost here and there, and ghosts will save you. All right, and we have Isati. Isati, could you please turn your camera on and then ask the question directly to Bora?
Hello, Bora. My name is Izadi, and I'm zooming in from New York, where I'm actually studying fiction writing. And last semester.
Hello. What time is that?
It's currently 11-ish at night. And I'm just very excited. I really want to thank Makassar Writers Festival for actually inviting Bora, because my class, Women of the World, actually read Bora's collection of short stories, and the class absolutely loved it. And I think almost everybody in the class agreed that it was our most favorite book that we read among all the other amazing books that we read in the syllabus. We
had Bora cry.
Yeah, and we know that you are shy because like we watch all of like your interviews and we read all like your articles and on like how you finally kind of like put together the collection. So I'm just kind of like very much fangirling right now. Yeah, but I think I have so many questions and I even like a whole notebook kind of like dedicated to kind of
Wow.
analyzing the
We
curse
should have
bunny.
a special session then.
I think my question for tonight is like I was really interested in when you mentioned about how the head was really kind of like a way for you to um, portray the message of like how women are like in general mainly ignored and especially by the men, and I was like, darn, I didn't get that message, and so I was like, oh, now I have to read that all again and kind of like remind myself of like all the Easter eggs that I probably have missed. And so my question is like, how is your process has been in deciding or like filtering out or discovering your main message and like symbols to portray through your horror short stories, because it's very interesting to kind of like discover all like the hidden symbols, and I just want to know like how do you prioritize what kind of I think symbols that you want to give to your readers to kind of like catch up on, I guess. Thank you so
Thank you, but well, first of all, thank all your class for me, please. And what do I do now? I don't think about symbols necessarily. I don't have that much of a systematic approach to writing. I never took any writing class. I was never taught how to write, so I just started writing. So I mostly approach from a very practical point of view. I start with the ending. When it's a short story. When it's a novel, it's totally different. Even if I have an ending, the novel itself goes a different way, so I can't do it. But when it's a short story, I have an ending, and then I have the first sentence, and then I have almost all of it. So the ending, the first sentence, the title, and then I start writing. And that's when I know what I want to write. So I know what I want to write, what kind of story I want to write, what the protagonist is going to say, what this person, this character, that character is going to say. But in terms of messages and symbols, I have no idea. Yeah, that's my answer. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. We have 7 minutes left, and I think we all agree if we close this conversation by inviting Bora to read the next excerpt from Curse Bunny, and Leah from Haru will be helping us to present the Indonesian translations.
So this is a story entitled not The Scar, but Scar. And it's about a story where the main character was abducted by a monster and spent all his childhood in a cave, being tormented by this monster. And this protagonist just escapes from the cave and tries to find out why he had to go through all of it. So the youth wandered, this is right after the character escapes from the cave. The youth wandered the mountain forest for 4 days. Aside from rainwater and some grasses, he ate nothing and continued to walk for a long time. When he emerged from the forest on the evening of the 4th day and discovered a village, the first thought in his mind was not joy that he had survived, but that the village was somehow familiar to him. A rock near the village's entrance, the green-brown earth and gray-bark trees, and the row of houses all came together in an uncanny sense that he had been here before. But why the village scene was so familiar, or where he had seen it before, was something that he didn't have the wherewithal to ponder. For 4 days straight, he had not eaten or slept properly. The things he needed most right now were food and warmth. He walked into the strangely familiar village. He still wore the clothes he had worn in the arena. The only thing on his body were the ornate loose trousers they had given him, and he had no shoes or tunic, just the many scars marking his back and arms, bare to the world. The sun was melting into different shades of red above the clouds on the horizon, and smoke was rising from the village houses as their inhabitants prepared their evening meals. The smell of cooking made his stomach jump and skip. He walked into the alley between the houses. Villagers returning from their work stopped in their tracks and stared at him. In the tense silence of their fearful gazes, the youth remembered the day he had escaped it. It is the monster. He escaped it and the cave and come upon the world of people. But unlike back then, there was no grinning man coming up to run and grab his hand. No one offered him food or warmth. When he tried to enter the houses, the women would take one look at the scars on his ribcage and scream. Farmers holding hoes or rakes would chase him away, making angry faces. He was discouraged. He covered as many of his scars as he could with his arms and hurried out of there. Once he had escaped the village, he sighed. Should he go to the mountains? He had no clue as to how one survived in the mountains or forest. How to light a fire, where to get food. He didn't even know where to start with such things. But he had managed to survive on raw meat and greens before. There was no reason why he couldn't continue to do so now. More than anything else, there was no telling what would happen to him if he ever found himself in a village again. He turned back to the darkening forest and began to walk. After walking a long time through the trees in the darkness, he saw something like the round roof of a shelter. It really was a roof. Not only that, there was a whole house underneath it. But seeing how there were no lights on inside despite the dark, he thought it must be abandoned. He was overjoyed, a place to sleep. While still hungry, night had fallen, so he might as well spend the night here and go out to forage for food when the sun came up. He approached the hut and pushed open the door. The door made a creaking sound as it opened. From the darkness, a white object approached him. Surprised, he staggered backwards and fell on his behind. "Brother?" asked the white object. He didn't know what to say.
Wow, thank you. And could I ask everyone to put the hands clap for Bora? We need this. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a great conversation. It's not an interview, of course. It's a really, relaxed, such a warm morning event. Thank you for sharing the story about not only about Curse Bunny, but also your world of views and perspectives on socioeconomic politics that wrapped in horror and speculative fictions as a really interesting genre. Thank you again, Bora, and also thanks to the to all participants. I would like to say thank you to Chung and Bai. Is he here? From GRB, yeah, GRB agency. Thank you for preparing this. It's a quite last minute event, but one of the highlight for the festival, and also for the publisher Arsak in South Korea. Also, thank you for Haru publisher in Indonesia, Leah, David, Andre, and all friends there. Thank you for the translators and Chiki and Andika, our sign language interpreters. Thank you, and of course the the online and digital content producers, yoga and team in Makassar. So if you feel that, oh, I need more time to listen to Bora, I just have one sentence like, just buy Bora's book. I believe you love the stories like I do. And for those who are waiting for the Indonesian editions, yeah, September or October, the Indonesian editions of Curse Bunny will be available, published by Haru Publisher. All right, and I should end this session by reading some information about the other events that happening in festival. This is a very interesting day 3. We have seven events. We open this beautiful Saturday morning with conversation with Bora, but later on we have My Awakening Moments with Omar Musa, an author poet from Australia, Agustinus Wibowo, author from Indonesia, Aparna Bhatnagar Saxena, an activist from India. And this event, My Awakening Moments, Rethinking about Identity, Life, and Purpose, will be hosted by Beth Yap from Australia. It's in English, so everyone, if you just join us online and taking a part in this, a really interesting conversation. And also for our Indonesian audience, we have a book launch, Kado Terbaik, Karya J.S. Hyrand will be launched today as well. And another interesting discussion, I think this is one for Bora, if you would like to listen to an author from the Netherlands talking about feminism and women through this work called Lebih Putih Dariku, written by Dido Michelsens. All this information is available in on our website and our social media, in Instagram Makassar Writers and Twitter Makassar Writers. And we have another session, how to write lyrics, then how to really think about a new career as a lyricist, yeah, for those who are interested to write songs as a lyricist. And of course, there's another session this afternoon. Our friends from Malaysia, from Australia, will do some reading in accompanied by a cup of coffee or tea. And the evening program will become more, like, I think it is a climax of today's event, because we have Rara Sekar or Hara as one of the performance tonight. So thank you again, and I hope to see you all in the next event or in the next encounters. Stay safe. Bye-bye. Thank you, Bora.